HYPEBEAST and Hype Radio, I am Jeff Staple, and this is The Business of Hype, a show about creative entrepreneurs, brand builders, innovators, and the realities behind the dreams they've built. Today's episode is brought to you by my good friends at New Balance. They just dropped the latest evolution to the classic 997 franchise. It's simply called the 997H. It's an instant classic in my opinion. And my favorite colorway? Probably the Magnet Energy Red, but it's pretty hard to choose. It drops this month, and it's available in dope colorways all over the world at better New Balance retailers. And much like what we do here at the Business of Hype, New Balance is all about supporting the fearlessly independent. So whether it's the athletes they serve or the creatives that they collaborated with, like me, New Balance has been celebrating entrepreneurship since 1906. You can learn more at newbalance.com. He's a culinary pioneer and a community visionary. Someone who has truly changed the world by single-handedly elevating the food truck phenomenon to new levels. And he's only just begun. Everyone welcome Roy Choi to the Business of Hype podcast. He is the creator of the world-renowned taco truck Kogi and his new Vegas restaurant, Best Friend. The journey to success wasn't always smooth for Roy, so listen in as he tells his amazing story. This is dope because we get to do this in your new home.
Yeah.
Right?
Right next to a big light box filled with photography of Los Angeles with on Boyle Heights photo right next to us.
With a lowrider.
Yeah, all hydrauliced up at the signal.
So you're in your comfort zone here.
I am. I tried to create Los Angeles in this restaurant the best way that I knew how.
Yeah.
And express it and just really send a love letter to the world about Los Angeles. And when you walked in here, I just wanted you to feel like you were in LA. You know, and I the thing that I would joke about, like, to myself is that, you know, they created Rome and Lake Como and Venice and, you know, all these places, all these kind of like fantastic amusement style places that mimic these faraway lands.
Yeah.
And I wanted to look at LA through that lens in this restaurant.
Right. And of course, we're in Las Vegas right now.
Yeah.
And so give me the full intro of the restaurant name, where we are, like the proper introduction.
Yeah, yesterday was opening day, December 19th. It's Best Friend, Las Vegas. And it's in the new Park MGM Hotel, which is a huge, like $600 million renovation of the old Monte Carlo. And the front will be Eataly. And then you have an amazing steakhouse out of Chicago called Bavette's. You have the Nomad Hotel, who those guys are ballers, you know, what they do. Yeah. And then you have On the Record Nightclub, which are the Houston brothers, they're like, I guess the word's impresarios or whatever that word is. They're the nightclub kings out in L.A. And then you got me, the weird little kind of cousin. And you got Best Friend, which is the portal is Koreatown. So, you know, I really looked at the whole experience as being like a ride. And so as soon as you enter the doors, there's a liquor store sign. It's a full liquor store in the front. And they didn't want it to be like a fake liquor store in a sense. Like, so you can buy, it's a true store. You can buy condoms. You can buy condoms to aspirin and whatever you want to do. Yeah. And then it's also a bar. And then through that liquor store, you kind of transport yourself through LA. And then you go through another kind of hidden little hallway, and then that shoots you out into the restaurant, which is even more LA.
Yeah, it's dope. I mean, I was blessed to be at the opening last night, and the food was amazing.
Thank you.
Like really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that was day one too. So we're only going to get better. Yeah, or worse.
But I think what was really dope is how like happy you feel while eating here. Yeah. You know, like it makes you feel so good. It's not pretentious. It's like, you know, it's just dope.
Well, I think it's all the elements of the place, obviously, the artists that we've gotten involved. I mean, including yourself down the road, you know. Yeah. But
yeah, right at the front window, Patrick Martinez.
You got Patrick Martinez,
one of my favorites. Yeah.
You have these photos are shot by Travis Jensen. Those kimchi ongi pots are done out of an artist out of Montana. We have this mural that's right behind me on
Yep.
both walls, which represents Los Angeles in a beautiful kind of like garden, trippy garden, psychedelic way.
Yeah.
And that's done by an artist named Fung. And our designer and our brand designer, everyone involved are artists. So every little detail was thought through. And then the food, you know, I'm at a place now where I can cook food that I think is delicious versus food to pump my ego or make me win something, quote unquote win,
Right,
you
right.
know? So I'm able to really just tap in and really feel a room and figure out like, how do you want to eat right now? And how do you want to feel when you eat, you know? And
So on that level of like doing something to pump up your own ego versus, I guess the opposite of that is just doing something that makes people feel good. Right?
yeah, just cooking to make people feel good, almost very motherly or auntie-like in a
Yeah,
sense. you know?
yeah. Like, you know, we ordered the fries last night. This is just an anecdote, but like my girl was like, "Why would you get French fries here? Like, you could get all this other amazing stuff. Why would you get the fries, right?" But then the fries came, and she was like, "Yo, these fries are ridiculous." Like,
Because
these are
you get
best
the
fries.
dip with that fries.
You get the dip, but you also, if I'm not mistaken, you put like ramen flavoring.
Oh, yeah,
on
we
them,
make
right?
a ramen salt. Yeah,
A
instant
ramen salt,
Yeah.
instant ramen salt that you
That's
just put
right.
on the fries. So it's just that simplicity of like, why didn't anyone think of this? It's like
Yeah.
some pothead shit, you know.
Yeah.
Late at night, you're like, how would this taste together?
And that's what I do. You know, like your whole life, if you grow up a stoner, like you're kind of like not cast out by society, but you know everything that you see that is real or that the lens that you're seeing the world through and the experiences and the feelings are all considered to just be a part of your high versus it being kind of a door that's unlocked.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, I cook for stoners. I cook for a stoner state of mind, but also it allows me to think about all the different like nuances and hidden pockets of flavor and all these little things, you know.
Do you create recipes better when you're high?
No, I don't think it's a matter of like getting high and then creating like the illest shit or something like that. I think it's more of like just being high a lot of ideas come, and even if one kernel of a million ideas somehow like sperm, I guess, you know, somehow swims all the way
makes it,
through and
yeah.
makes it all the way through, then it was worth it. You know what I mean? Like just one little thing, you know,
Right.
out of all of this like experience and kind of like visceral life and going through everything, if that one little thing somehow helps with the color of that chair right there,
Yeah.
then it was all worth it, you know?
Right. Yeah. So your life, it's funny you used the little sperm analogy, but like the journey of your life for the past few decades in like the restaurant scene in LA has also been like this little guy like swimming through upstream and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it on paper, I mean, we're looking at this photo right now in Boyle Heights on First and State Street. Like, I was right there on the corner selling tacos 10 years ago, right at this time 10 years ago, and then now I'm opening, you know, this $6-7 million restaurant in a casino.
Yeah.
And then all of the culture that happened in between. So I really look at this restaurant as like a 10-year milestone.
Yeah.
You know, I've stayed independent for 10 years, Jeff. Like I've really. There are many cases where I could have, like, I guess, gotten VC money or
Backing and stuff.
or sold parts of companies or whatever the case may be. And you know, I grew exponentially in the 10 years, but every move was independent. I don't know if it was deliberate that way, but I think something happened to me with Kogi. You know, like it was a miracle that I was down on my luck, and then I was selling tacos with my friends, and we started a phenomenon, right? It like broke through. So in a way, I had to like kind of always honor that in a sense, you know.
And for those who don't know, it's the Kogi taco
the Kogi truck, yeah,
which is like a legendary food staple.
I'm
now.
sure your listeners know.
They
I hope
you
they
actually
know.
created like a new, not only a new business, but like a new category.
Yeah, we were in a perfect storm. It was the fall of the economy in 2008, the real estate crisis. It was a lot of people either getting laid off or getting demoted or whatever the case may be. The food world was still in the infancy of blogging, and the iPhone just came out,
Yeah.
and Twitter just came out, and then the old food world, which was based around fine dining and
Stars.
reviews, European-based cuisine.
Yeah.
all of these things, they still were on the court.
Yeah, they were still holding it.
They were still holding court. But then this perfect storm in kind of like November, December, January of 08, 09, kind of shocked the whole system.
Yeah.
Twitter, we were the first to kind of utilize and figure out by accident, but figure out how to do social media and food together.
Yeah.
Without just sending out coupons or things like that.
Right, because you would tweet out a location and then people would just run to that location.
We would tweet out locations. We would stay in touch with our building kind of fan base through just our honesty and our randomness on Twitter.
Yeah.
And again, it was just the perfect storm that everyone was starting to get, I guess you call them smartphones. Get a smartphone at that time.
But there was a democratization.
There was democracy because right before Kogi, it was still at the point where people were having those, like the sidekicks still and the slide Nokias and all that stuff. Right. It was still a luxury and a little bit unattainable to get an iPhone.
Yeah.
I think they were probably maybe $1,500 or maybe $800, $900, whatever it was, but it was a lot back then for something that wasn't ubiquitous in daily life. So people really didn't take the leap yet.
Right.
Until,
I remember people were still carrying around like Zagat books.
They were still carrying Zagat books, even Yellow Pages.
Yeah. That's how you
found
found
just 10 years ago.
I know, it's crazy.
Blackberries were still dominant, at that time. And again, it was still, it wasn't like complete like flip burner phones, but it wasn't everyone didn't have a screen on their phone at that time.
If you don't know, now I hope you do. Kogi was no doubt revolutionary. It came at a perfect time that was ripe for an intersection in technology and food, especially for the streets. He helped usher in an appreciation for non-fine dining and raise the stakes on how you actually communicate with your customer. Roy helped lay the blueprint for food trucks and mobile chefs that you see today on Instagram. I'm sure there are case studies created about Kogi for brands to run activations and experiences in a similar way. You can say it was amazing marketing. If anything, it was Roy just being Roy. But above all, the tacos are damn good. And that's just not me saying this. Everyone from local Angelinos to the respected food critics and chefs all agree. That rings true for anyone in the industry. If you have an innovative communication strategy and clever branding, it just won't hold up and sustain itself if the product isn't amazing. But leading up to Kogi, even before that, Kogi was your first business, right?
Yeah, I was never an entrepreneur or businessman before that. I think looking back in hindsight, I always had it. I always saw the world in my own way, but I was never kind of groomed or raised to realize that I had it. So
to do it on your own.
'Cause I'm Asian,
Yeah.
so I was raised to go to school and work hard and get good grades and go, graduate from college and become a professional, some professional with 3 letters behind your name.
Yeah.
2 or 3 letters behind your name with periods after each letter.
Yeah, you're raised to do it the safe, stable way.
Yeah, and not only the safe, stable way, but there was just no, conception of being a creative person
On your own, making your own living. Yeah, totally. It wasn't even like, I don't know about you, but it wasn't even like our parents were like shunning it.
No.
It just wasn't even a thing.
It's not even a thing. You know, it's not even like, if I had shown some gifts of painting or something, they would have encouraged that, but I just didn't know what it was I was supposed to do. So, so the things that I love to do, which are hanging out on the street, just riding buses, cruising, fixing up my car, low riding, listening to music, hanging out in parking lots, eating burritos and tacos on the street. All these things that all these things that I loved. They were never given to me in the context that they could also be a career.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Those
it was separate.
They were separate.
Yeah. Yep.
And so,
So you were a working chef, like
yeah. And
right?
so, anyways, I tried all that stuff, and then I became a chef. Finally, at like 26, culinary school, became a chef. Worked in a lot of kitchens in Manhattan, and then I decided to go into kind of like hotels and resorts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I spent about like 10 years of my life running huge hotels and small like boutique resorts and things like that. And I thought that was it. I actually reached one kind of milestone, a mountaintop in my career as a chef. Became the chef of the Beverly Hilton, where they hold the Golden Globes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that, at that time, I didn't know that there was going to be a phenomenon around the corner.
Totally, yeah.
So that was like a huge thing for me. I made it. I
Yeah.
made it. I was making like $100,000 a year.
Right.
Benefits, 2 weeks vacation, all that stuff, and
Celebs.
then celebs, and then with the opportunity from there to maybe run a region or
Yeah.
go to the their more luxury brand, the Conrad brand, or maybe even go international. So those were like the biggest dreams that I had at that time, and then now compare them to 10 years later, where I want to bring peace to the world. So it's kind of like weird. Like now, I through a taco, I've developed a philosophy that I've shared with tens of thousands of people that believe in me. I'm like a jam band. Like Widespread Panic or Fish or Mo or something.
Right.
Like
Building a fan base
now
one at a time.
it's building, and now I have the ability to influence culture.
Yeah.
And that's a huge fucking leap. That no one really prepares you for.
But you just fast forwarded a decade. So I want to go back. I want to ask why. Like, you had the cushy job, the benefits, 6-figure salary, notoriety. What was the thing that made you say, I'm going to get a truck instead?
Oh, I lost that job.
Okay.
So
you lost that job. That'll do it.
Yeah. I lost that job because of the economy. I was overpaid and all this stuff, and I couldn't get another job.
Really?
Yeah. It was weird. And I think I like to look at it as kind of the spiritual fork in the road that was meant to be.
Right.
That's my kind of like idealistic look at it. But I couldn't get another job. At that time I was at the peak of my career, right? So I was demanding 6-figure salaries, and everyone was in the business world. Everyone was, whether it was the food world or your world, design, or even Nike or anyone, right? Everyone at that time was looking like, do I need to pay that guy $175,000 or whatever the case may be, or do I get like the guy that's been working under him, that's as good or almost as good, and pay him
half the price,
55 or 65, right? And we were in that. It was that zone. So I
outpriced yourself because you were too high
and
level.
then the economy crashed. So in that moment, I spent about 3 months trying to look for a job, and I couldn't get one. And in my book, I wrote, in my mind, I was like frustrated, but in my book, I wrote, I was probably, to all of these places I applied to, I was like a wrinkled guy with a wrinkled resume wearing a wrinkled suit. I felt like I was probably someone that didn't. I was probably lost at that time because I was so depressed. When you lose your job at like your mid 30s and have a family, that's scarier than losing it at 19.
Yeah.
So, but I think, I don't know. I truly hold on to that idealistic kind of kaleidoscope belief of that it was meant to happen, because if I would have gotten a job, Kogi would have never happened.
Yeah.
If somewhere within those 3 months, 3 to 4 months, I would have taken anything.
Yeah.
To be honest, I would have taken the demotion to work back up. I had bills. So it's not like, even now as I look back,
You weren't being a diva.
I wasn't being a diva, and even now as I dissect all of the things, there was no way that I was going to turn down a job thinking like, let me just wait this out and see what comes next, right?
They just weren't calling back.
Yeah, and so because of that, after those 3 months, finally my friend called me, and he's like, "Yo, I heard you lost your job." We worked together at the Beverly Hilton. He's like, "Yo, heard you lost your job. Well, I got this idea. We put Korean barbecue in a taco. We go in front of the clubs at 2 a.m. and we make fucking millions. You know.
Did you think he was crazy?
I didn't think he was crazy, but I was like, I had no footing of like how to say yes or no. Like he bought me a coffee in K-Town, and I was just like, oh, cool, I got a free coffee out of this. But like being here in Vegas, you know how like you can't sleep sometimes, like everything is just buzzing.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, especially if you've won or lost, or even if you've just partied, whatever. It felt like that. I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't get this out of my mind. And then the next morning, I called him. I was like, well, fuck it, let's roll. And from that moment, everything just fell into place naturally.
Yeah.
You know, we literally started a business on a napkin. You know, as it said.
Yeah.
And we went in and we put in $1,500 into the business.
That
together.
must have been scary, though.
Yeah, you know, and that's it. And then we just
You're like counting pennies, and
we're counting pennies. Yeah. We went in, and we literally everything became very instinctual at that time. That was actually, even though it was money I didn't have really in a sense, everything was completely instinctual where I didn't second guess a fucking thing.
Yeah.
So soon as I said let's roll, we went to the produce market. We went to all of my old connects as a chef and went directly to the source and said, hey, we'll come out the back dock and buy directly from you, the meat purveyors, the produce, everything like that. And then we just started prepping. And then I worked on the prototype, and we all ate it, the first one, and we just looked at each other like we saw a ghost. You know, it was just like we were possessed. And then literally from that moment, the next day, we went in and prepped and went out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you eat something of your own and just know that this is a home run? You just know it?
I know it, but because when I was younger, I like with Kogi, I know it without editing. Like it was just raw. It's just raw, like early Wu-Tang or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not perfect, but it's just. It captures the essence.
Okay.
But then as you grow as a entrepreneur, CEO, professional, whatever, as you know, things become, the stakes become higher. Because at that time, there are no stakes, right? So the stakes become higher. The lens becomes more critical. The projects become more
like demanding. There's
intricate,
more.
and demanding, right? And so in that case, I'm still hitting it, the essence, but what I think, where I stop sometimes, I have some, like my right hand, Natasha, someone will tell me, and we've developed a system. She gives me notes on paper. She doesn't tell me in person. So,
oh, wow.
So like when she'll eat something, then she'll write it down, and then like a couple hours later, she'll give it to me.
That's super key. Because when it's criticized to you verbally, it feels different than when you read it.
And especially in that moment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like if you put everything into it, and you put it on the table, and you, in your mind, are putting it on the table and just dropping the mic, right, in a sense.
Yep.
And then someone says, well, you know, that wasn't as flaky as you said. And then the sauce on the bottom just doesn't work.
Right.
You know, it needs more acid. And then all of a sudden those things just...
You can't help but take it as like a personal affront. Yeah.
Exactly.
So for me, like as a different creative, but like when I design a shoe or a shirt or whatever, I almost never finish the design. I'm like, that's a home run. Like there's always a little bit of like anxiety as a creative. Do you still feel that way too?
I do now, for sure. Like with this project, I'm living and breathing best friend, and just every day, just are people gonna love it? Are people gonna love it? You know,
and not just the food, but everything, interior, the bathroom, the smell, the music, right?
Everything, and just the way I compensate for it, I guess, is I literally give it my all, literally, like every ounce. Gram of my soul. I put into it, and so that at least if the shit is whack, at least I can like,
you didn't hold back.
Like, I didn't hold back, and I can just be a begrudged old like fierce guy that defends it and fights for it. You know, but
you could be like Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
just be like.
But as you know, like as you get better and better with projects, you start to see the science of things. You start to see. The first process for me is I let the vision take control first. So let's say you were MGM and we just decided to get into business together. Once, even before contract phase and all that, once we've like kind of decided as people, like, let's go for this.
Yep.
Then I kind of go into like this kind of meditative place where I'm just like, I open up everything to give me like signals, like what are we going to build? You know, like what is it going to be? And I just open it up to the skies, you know, and and then things start to come through, and I start to piece those together like Legos in my mind or my soul, whatever. And then I start to see it. So the first thing is always the vision. Then with Best Friend, that's exactly how it happened. And I started to see the components and the pieces of it. Street food, bringing people to LA, making those that are from LA feel a sense of pride, like, fuck yeah, you know, like, homie did it, you know? And then those that have never been to LA or don't know much about LA walk in and finally get it, you know? And so those are all components that you see that made it all the way to the finish line.
But at that beginning stage, are you seeing dishes yet?
I'm seeing dishes, I'm seeing colors, I'm seeing spaces, I'm seeing feel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm seeing all that stuff, but it's very, it's still...
It keeps shifting.
It keeps shifting, yeah.
Right.
And then once I know it's kind of there, the same thing happened to me with Chego. We have a rice bowl restaurant, which was my first place we opened after Kogi. It was like...
That was not a truck. It was the
that
first.
was not a truck. Yeah, it was a year and a half after Kogi, because that first year was crazy. And we, again, being independent artists, we saved all our money, and we were all self-funded all the way through. So we saved that money, bought a little mini mall storefront, and just, you know, spent like 30,000-40,000 and built a restaurant, you know.
And that was Chego.
Yeah, it was Chego.
Okay.
And that I knew the same way. As soon as we all decided as a company and as a group, like, let's try something. We've saved some money in the bank. Let's try something. I was like, okay, let me look around. Let me think. What do people want? And then it was rice bowls, you know. Then I started thinking of like Yoshinoya and like how big that was for me as a kid. And then all the bad rice bowls at like mall food courts, you know, with the steamed broccoli and carrots and the teriyaki chicken and the sludgy rice. and then I started thinking about that. I was like, you know what? And then I started thinking about like the refrigerators of us as kids growing up, and how it's hard to be like, you know, like when you bring friends over, just like, yo, don't open that, don't go in there. And I was like, okay, let me create this place where we can finally kind of confront our refrigerator through a rice bowl and share it with the world. And so that became Chego.
Okay.
And this became Best Friend through LA.
And Chego, from there, what other restaurants did you do?
I did a restaurant called A-Frame, which is still around. It's doing really great. It's like an all-you-can-eat fried chicken barbecue pancake spot.
And is that in an IHOP?
Yeah, it's in an old IHOP.
So you took an old IHOP
and made a pancake house, but with a twist, like with a kind of a Hawaiian backyard barbecue vibe.
Did you go out looking for an IHOP, or the IHOP stumbled upon you?
The IHOP stumbled upon me.
That's dope.
And my partner, and when he walked me into the property, again, I just felt it. So sometimes those things will happen when you walk into something, you can feel it. And and if you've had a little bit of momentum and a run, and I know maybe a lot of you may be listening that either are successful or on your way or trying to figure out how to get there, right? And in all stages. But if you start to build momentum and start to get kind of like into the on your way phase, you can walk into environments and then the things instantly speak to you.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like geared up for it. And, and you can kind of act upon it versus it being just a dream. Yeah.
Actually, my store, Reed Space in New York, that was it. I wasn't looking for a store space. I stumbled upon the store space, and then it spoke to me.
Then it speaks to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what happened with A-Frame.
Yeah. No doubt this is true. It's really insightful to hear about Roy's process. This is important. It doesn't matter who you are. Defining your process is vital for doing great work, but also staying consistent. That process can be unique to you too. What works seamlessly for you might be foreign to the next person. So know what works. It'll take time to find it, but in Roy's case, once it clicks and is constantly put into practice, it'll become automatic. That's where you find those serendipitous moments, those times where things just speak to you. His growth is amazing. From losing a stable position, thrown into uncertainty, and going all in on a new venture, a true taco truck adventure. It may be a cliche, but his story has some parallels to many other Business of Hype guests. Whenever faced with an opportunity, going all the way through the door may be the best decision you can make. Having one foot in may actually be the thing that's holding you back. From the very beginning, Roy has gone all in with his vision. Perfecting his process has allowed him to keep an eye out for how to expand. This isn't a we need to open as many locations in as many high demand areas type of expansion. It's listening to what people want and having a keen sense of what simple things can be updated and introduced. And then, okay, so after A-Frame, then what came next after that?
Yeah, we have A-Frame and the Alibi Room, which are kind of connected. Alibi has a little pop-up Kogi stand inside. We have Chego. And then we have, I built the Line Hotel, commissary pot.
Okay.
With the Seidel group. And then kind of really brought a big focus to Koreatown. You know,
this was K-Town, yeah.
This was 5 years ago, 2013 or so. And, you know, K-Town was still K-Town. There was not many people were looking at it as quote unquote the hottest city in America, which it became, you know. And you know, I got approached with this hotel project to take over all the food and beverage, and I just felt I was ready. You know, I grew up in K-Town. I've been partying there my whole life, and all of my life is there. Our dentists, my supermarket. You know, my foot massage, my podiatrist.
Yeah, they're all there, right?
Skincare, fucking barber, you know, whatever. It's all there, you know. And so I felt like I could do something for the town, and we did. You know, we brought the world's eye to Koreatown, on our own terms, and that was that. At that time, that was my kind of vision back then, was like bring the world to K-Town on our terms, where, you know, it's kind of like they're like reflections of the same vision, where his best friend is let the world see LA in a capsule, the true LA that I feel I can represent. The Line Hotel project was kind of the same, but a little bit of a wider vision of let everyone come here to Koreatown and experience it on our own terms. So then after that, I felt like I needed. I was being driven in my own self to figure out how to take care of more people. You know, so built a project called Local in Watts with Chef Daniel Patterson and the whole community of Watts. And also a kind of a student-run smoothie cafe called Three Worlds Cafe. So those are my two kind of like semi-nonprofit,
giving back
community-based projects where, you know, trying to create prosperity and wealth and jobs. You know, and was built around grain-based, healthy fast food, employing from the community,
serving back to the community,
back to the community, letting the community run it, and no matter what your history or past was, even your record, your criminal record, anything, you know, your application was your name and your phone number, you know, and, you know, we were trying to redefine the whole hiring process, because a part of the flaws in our economy is the burden that we make people pay for mistakes they made when they were young. You know, so if you did something, especially people of color, you know, so like if you did something when you were 18 and you were out in 5 years and you're 26, 24, 26, and you're trying to get a job, but you got a felony on your record, you're not going to get a job. You know, so to me, I think that is, you know, we're never going to fix the system if
we keep punishing, right?
Keep punishing. If no one can get any source of reparation to what they did in life.
So Local was kind of like a social experiment too, not just a food experiment. But
it was a social experiment in the fact that both Daniel and I were at the height of our chef careers, right? So we could almost garner any form of attention. Like if him and I were just to open a restaurant like this, in any city, it would be at the top of every foodie and
your reputation
journalist
had
list.
preceded itself.
It would.
So you went the other way.
Yeah, and so what we decided to do is like, let's take this moment, because who knows how long attention and fame and influence last. So we're like, let's take this moment and do something good for the world and try to break down some walls. And so we went for it.
Was a part of this because maybe, and I'm just hypothesizing here, but you came from being a salaryman, right? Chasing the check, doing the right thing. Then you broke off that, did Kogi, amazing success. But then here you are now adding restaurant. I mean, how many Kogis did you have at the end, towards like this time when you opened local? Like you had like
we had 4 trucks and a taco shop.
Yeah. So you have that, then you have all these other restaurants, and now you're becoming sort of like the man of the guy that you were working for. In a way, like you had to be like cognizant of reviewers and critics and stars and James Beard Awards, right? Was local sort of like your eject button out of that world a little bit?
I could see what you're saying, but for me, not really, because I never really got caught up in that whole rating system, Michelin stars or accolades. I was fortunate enough to get a few along the way, but that never defined what I was doing because I was so connected always to the streets through Kogi, and so no matter what was happening around me in the culinary world or the food world, I was, or even in my own ego, I was always still completely connected every day, just going out there and serving tacos and seeing the people who ate my food, seeing their faces every day and getting to know them. And so I knew where my bond was strong, and again, like an independent music artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like without a label, if you're selling on your website direct to your fans and selling out arenas and doing 32 cities, in 2,000, 5,000 seat venues, whatever, like, where your reality lies. Doesn't mean you can't break through it and do 50,000 seat stadiums and all that, but without getting that
like
investment
or like a Grammy
or
you don't need the Grammy
or all that stuff, the Grammy, the accolades, or even the investment, if like just doing it on your own and expressing yourself to the people who actually give a shit about what you're saying.
Yeah. But it's hard as a creative to
they become your critics.
That's true.
And that's where I've always laid my hat.
Okay.
Is in the people that follow Kogi.
But did you ever get caught up in like the reward system? Because it's like as a creative, it's so hard to be like, I don't give a fuck about Grammys or I don't give a fuck about Michelin stars. But it's hard to be.
But we all do, right? Like
a little bit, yeah.
We all do.
And not from a business standpoint. You know that if you are opening a business and it gets a good rating from so-and-so and it gets X number of stars, from a business standpoint, that's like lighter fluid on your business.
Of course. And from a business side, again, I was very lucky in the fact that we built a groundswell from the ground up as far as like
audience
goes, right? So that didn't matter on that sense. But yeah, I'm not going to, just because I'm being very zen about everything right now, that doesn't mean that you don't see what's happening in the world, right? It's not like, you don't pick up a magazine or you don't hear the list when it first comes out, or
right,
whatever,
exactly. And there's competition, your peers,
and there's nothing wrong with being applauded for what you do. And so, of course I look at it and I think about it, and, you get spikes of jealousy and envy and desire and all those things. Those are all very human qualities, but I was just at a place where when Kogi happened, I don't know, I was very grounded by that time because I had been through so much that coming out of it, I didn't need to I didn't need to prove myself to anyone. I had finally gotten the ticket to be myself, you know? So, but I definitely, you definitely see it and think about it. And it's hard being a creative and getting these accolades because you instantly sometimes defer yourself to like the humble, the like deflecting, like I'm just trying to do my best. I just, got a good team behind me, and these are all true things, but
Yes.
like you can never just say, yeah, I'm, like
Killed it.
I killed it. I killed it. And it's hard for creatives to say that.
It definitely is, Roy. There's an interesting balance when recognizing your successes and also recognizing how it can turn people off. I'm glad Roy is real about it. There is jealousy and competition, a need to be humble in order to not, quote unquote, ruffle any feathers. And too many times, being openly proud of your success can come off as arrogant. Roy is and has been killing it. And if he doesn't want to say it out loud, I'm down to do it for him. There's something we can never have enough of. When creating and building your work, be sure to recognize who's in your circle, both close and extended, because those are the people who will big you up even when it's not in good taste to do so. Without a doubt, there is a level of camaraderie in today's competition. I mean, just look at sneakers and Instagram. So don't get defeated when things aren't coming your way or you're behind a wall because it doesn't feel right to talk about what you've accomplished. There's a bigger purpose. Doing it for the culture or for your city or your neighborhood, we all want to see each other win.
Were you ever nervous opening any of these? Like, what was the most nerve-wracking operation you opened out of all of them?
This has been nerve-wracking.
Best friend
Vegas.
is the most nervous.
It's a new town, new city.
Yeah.
I don't like to take anything for granted. I had no idea how this town would react to it or me, but it's been building every day.
This is your first away game.
My first away game. It really is. And not only my first away game, but my first away game at Yankee Stadium. Hitting cleanup.
Yep. Yep.
And
because this is the big leagues, like MGM group, like, and
Las
the size,
Vegas.
like, how big is this place?
It's
Not
9,000 square feet.
What was previously your biggest?
Well, the hotel project was big in Koreatown, but they were all split up into different
small things. Yeah.
But this is my biggest restaurant to date.
Single concept, big thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is this is the big leagues. As big as where you're from and I'm from, LA, New York are, not everyone makes it out to the coast.
Right.
But everyone makes it to Vegas, whether it's on business or vacation or around the world.
Yeah. Bachelor
families
parties,
from
whatever.
Nebraska to Macau, and everyone, and a lot of folks that by living on the coast, sometimes we get blinded about really how the rest of the world lives. You know what I mean? And so, like this, I have to imagine that there's a lot of people that have no idea who I am. So that part's also nerve-wracking too, because I'm kind of putting this huge thing out there and be like, yo, come in here, like, check this out. And, I mean, it's not going to go that way probably, but it could have, if there is an alternate possibility, there could be a point where people just don't show up and be like, who is this guy? We're going to go to the tried and true spot,
Right.
So this has been pretty nerve-wracking. And plus I just wanted to, it is also testing your boundaries as a creative person. As you say, my first away game, but it's also like, I know my strengths and my weaknesses and my connection in my hometown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know how the ball bounces off the rim.
Yep.
But like, I just, it's nerve-wracking to come to another city and see whether or not your stuff travels.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. When I flew here, I saw an article of you in the In-Flight magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Landed, see you on a billboard.
Yeah.
Check into my room. There's an article about you in the in-room. Like, I was like, damn. Like, you everywhere, son. Is that comfortable for you? Is that like, because, I feel like chefs like to be behind in the kitchen.
We do. That's why I guess there's no way getting around it right now. I can't be Daft Punk or anything anymore. You know what I mean?
Put
like
the mask on.
I'm not Marshmallow, and I wish, like a part of me, like an alternate side of me wishes I had some sort of shadow that went over my face, and I could still live like a little bit like Sin City or something with my collars up. You know, but
don't you wish sometimes
but
you
it's
could
not
walk?
that it's not that case.
Don't you wish you could walk through the restaurant and not have people be like, "Oh, there he is." Like,
I wish.
like you could just walk through and just anonymously feel the restaurant, right?
Sometimes I naively think I'm walking through like I'm invisible, like I'm the invisible Spider-Man.
Yep.
But like I'm no.
People
But
are
in
like-
my mind, I'm like walking through, creeping through, just checking on tables and stuff, and then. But what's happening in real time is what you just there he is.
Yeah,
you know, stuff like that.
And
but,
it definitely influences.
Yeah. But that kind of meta thing that you just mentioned about airplane to billboard to room, that's MGM. That's
The power of
the
MGM.
power of this away game is that I've plugged into an infrastructure and a system and a worldwide system. Again, being a 10-year milestone, I'm ready. I was ready to kind of not stop being an independent artist, but kind of evolve being. You know, I've been this independent artist for 10 years. I looked at this project as a transition point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me finally open myself up to what's out there and be on a billboard, you know? Whereas that type of thing 4 years ago would have crushed my soul. It would have been like, I would have been like, just, I don't know, you know, it would just been torturing me.
Wow.
You know? Because I don't like to put myself front and center, you know? And so I always try to take at least one sidestep to the whole ecosystem around me and the culture and everything. I don't want to be just the one, you know? And, but this project, and I realized that maybe to go around the world, you have to kind of, you have to slide into that position. You know?
And let people know you.
Yeah,
You know?
and let people know me. And sometimes you gotta, you know, it's like when you see the sportscasters talk about certain players that pass up the shot and pass the ball when they're the superstar. They're not. They haven't confronted being the superstar yet. Whether they talk
Like
about
you have to take that
like
shot.
KD or whatever before the Warriors and all that stuff. You know, so like it's like now is my time where I rise in the last 2 minutes. I take the ball.
Word,
you know, and so.
You know, 10 years in the grand scheme of your life is not that long. So do you ever sit back and reflect those moments where, like, no one was replying to you for getting a job after you got laid off?
Yeah, you know,
how far you've come in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, I reflect on it a lot. But I also reflect on the fact that life, once you, quote unquote, make it, it doesn't just last forever either. Like, I still got problems paying bills, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it can be taken away just as fast as it was given.
Fast, you know? Like if I have a couple bad months, you know, I got enough in my bank account the last couple months if nothing else comes in. Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like
That's the safety net. Yeah.
That's because I've chose this path as an independent artist to not make it to the next level yet. But the thing is, so I think about how much life has changed, but I also think about how it's always still a grind. You know, like you still there's. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't reached the point yet where I can just kick my feet up. You know.
Yeah.
And
that might be, now that I'm getting to know you more, that might be a nature of you that you don't want to be the guy who kicks his feet up ever. Do you?
I don't understand. I haven't figured out the concept of retirement yet. You know, it's not that I wouldn't do it, but I don't understand. Like, I would love to hear a podcast on like a bunch of like 70-year-olds that worked 30 years at a company and have lived the last 20, 30, 40 years without making any fucking money. Like, how do you do that?
Right.
Like literally, how do you do that? Like if I go a couple months and with a couple bad months, I will literally have to start doing what you did to start your company, start maxing out credit cards. You know?
Yeah.
And how do you do that for 30 years?
Right.
So I don't know. Like, it's not that I'm ruling out retirement. I just don't. I haven't figured out that puzzle yet.
Word. Why do you think there's such a synergy between chefs and like streetwear and sneakers?
I think because sneakerheads, there was the day that the culture required you, whether it's record digging or sneakerheads is it required you to seek it out.
Yeah.
It required you to
Hunt.
Yeah. And to find it and to be there and be a part of it. And food is like that in a way.
Yeah.
You have to hunt it out.
Right.
You can't just order it.
Yep.
And
I would argue that food is the last.
It's the last one.
It's the last one. And I don't, I hope there doesn't come a day where technology allows you to print out a Roy Choi taco out of your kitchen.
We're not far from that. I mean,
3D printed.
Yeah.
But you could see it on Instagram, but if you want to experience it, you still have to go.
You still have to go.
Yeah.
You still have to wait in line. You still have to
work the reservation system.
System. You still have to work for it. And I think maybe that's why there's some sort of bond or connection between streetwear and food. And also I think beyond that part, just the people themselves behind both cultures, all of us are kind of a little bit on the fringe.
Yeah.
On the margins.
Yeah.
We're
a little weird.
Weird. In the first place, we're a little weird. To be back there in the kitchen and come in at 9 a.m. and leave at 1 a.m. and never sit down,
do it again the next day.
Again the next day, So I think because of that, and a lot of this, again, with the people involved in both cultures and professions, we like the same shit.
Yeah.
Just naturally, we somehow like the same shit, same music, same vibes. We hang out in the same areas, we drink at the same bars.
Right.
A lot of cooks wear streetwear.
I know.
And so it's just a natural kind of connection.
I think there's also we have the same level of OCD-ness.
Yeah.
Where it's yes, you could be into shoes and go to TJ Maxx or Kmart and buy shoes, but then there's a nuance of this other shoe. Same thing with food, I think. You could eat anywhere, but there's something about my food.
Something about my food. There's something about not just that knife, but the knife that I seek out. About every piece of material that goes involved, and then it's also this kind of weird. Both outlets are this weird kind of manufacturing, blue collar production thing, but you have this ability to be creative within it
and dial it up. Yeah,
and dial it up, and I think that's where the two kind of intersect.
Cool. Well, man, good luck on this next chapter of your life.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where it goes mostly, and if this helps any of you out there listening, because I finally opened up to it.
So we get to see how it works for you.
Yeah,
in real time.
In real time, and to see how I will interact with it and define what it means to be, I guess, a worldwide mogul or whatever it is. That's where I got my eyes set on now. You know, and it's weird for me to even hear myself say that, because again, I'm actually really shy and kind of defer a lot, but I'm ready to be that mogul, and I'm just excited to see where it goes.
All right, man. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It was dope. Hey, thanks for listening to this enlightening episode with the super talented Roy Choi. As always, you can find out more about the show and listen to other episodes at hypebeast.com/radio. You can also subscribe to us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. I personally use Anchor FM. And also, leave a comment. Tell us what you think about the show. It definitely helps out a lot. You can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at jeffstaple. And we occasionally answer listener questions. So if you have a question, shoot it over to us at questions@businessofhype.com. The Business of Hype is created in collaboration with Bright Young Things. You can check out their work at byt.nyc. Our director is Daniel Navetta. Our audio engineer is David Rogers-Berry. Our associate producers are Sydney Pacumpra and Christina Hong. This episode was recorded at Sibling Rivalry Studio in New York and on location at Roy's new restaurant, Best Friend, in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Jeff Staple, and you've been listening to The Business of Hype on Hype Radio.